everyone. What a crowd. I'm Greg Kahn. I'm the president and CEO of the IoT Consortium. We are a group of 80 companies, including our two panelists here, that are focused on 5 topics, business acceleration of 5 areas of IoT: smart cities, homes, wearables, retail transformation, and autonomous vehicles. Companies that are part of our group include Comcast, Verizon, Procter & Gamble, Disney, and MasterCard. But we have a terrific panel today to talk about the future of what's coming next with respect to connected devices. And I would like to first turn it over to our panelists to introduce themselves and share a little bit about what they do within the world of IoT, and we'll jump right in. So Jim, to my right here.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Web Summit, for having us. My name is Jim Hunter, and I serve as the CTO of Delos. Delos is a company that's focused on actually thinking about the people that live inside boxes. What I mean is, if you think about the world around us, we now spend, on average, 90% of our lives trapped inside some sort of a box. This is a box. And that would be okay, except that's not how we spent hundreds of thousands of years of existence as we've kind of evolved to where we are today. So what Delos does is they do technology. We work with the Mayo Clinic, we work with major institutions around the world that think innovatively about people, the quantified self, and the quantified space, and the interaction between them. So using technology as our superpower for good.
Thank you, Jim. Cecilia.
Thanks, Greg. So first, on Swiss Re. So Swiss Re is a reinsurance company, which means that we are the insurer of insurance companies. So basically, we share the risk on the traditional business, like the motor and household and others. But we also take the bigger risk, like earthquakes and all these natural catastrophes. Today, we are a risk intelligence company with reinsurance at its core. So we are combining our deep understanding of risk with AI to develop scientific models and solutions to fast-track our clients, so insurers, to what we call the next generation of insurance. So I'm Cecilia Sevillano. I'm heading smart homes globally. And on my background, I build startups within corporate companies in insurance and financial sector.
Thank you, Cecilia and Jim. If you feel like asking questions during the session, I think there's a slide up here for Slido. Go to the Auto Tech and Talk Robot section, and if we have a chance, we will certainly try to get your questions answered. But let me jump in here. So setting the stage with a couple of numbers before we dive into the future. From the Consumer Technology Association, unit sales of smart home products, including thermostats, doorbells, smart home systems, dimmers, switches, and outlets, are estimated to reach 41 million this year, which is a 43% increase year over year, earning over $4.6 billion in revenue. Smart speakers are estimated to achieve 39.2 million units. That's a 44% uplift and generating $3.2 billion. That's after only 3 years in the market. IDC projects that the worldwide smart home device market will grow 31% year over year this coming year to 643 million shipments. So you could see just the acceleration of this space from where we were in 2017. On wearables, IDC estimates that the wearable market will ship 122 million devices in 2018. That's a 6% lift. And smartwatch volumes will reach 46.2 million units, which is up 40%. So net-net, we're seeing huge lift in both smart home and in wearables. But this topic is about what's coming next. I just kind of shared a little bit about smart speakers, that if we were here 3.5 years ago, we would not even be discussing smart speakers as a category, and it's moving so quickly. Jim, I'm going to start with you. You mentioned kind of the people-oriented approach. It's very kind of fitting for a conference like this and what's coming after smart homes and wearables. In our prep session, both you and Cecilia kind of mentioned that your firms are focused on the impact on humanity, on the people. But yet we represent the Internet of Things as an association. So Jim, share a little bit just about your approach at Delos and kind of how you're working or how you're taking a people-first strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Greg. People first is everything, because if the technology is not there for people, what's it there for? It's supposed to make our lives easier. So the way we look at the world is I use, for example, a video game from 20 years ago called The Sims. Anybody remember The Sims? So this video game is a precursor of what we're doing now with sensors and real technology. It was able to use algorithms to actually look at how people interacted with each other, how they interacted with their environments, and then assign scores for them so they could easily, as a player, you could easily see what impact that was having from a happy, a healthy, a work life. All those things were present in the algorithms and software. And now what we're doing with IoT, smart lamps, smart speakers, I could buy that stuff in The Sims 20 years ago. Now we're making them for real. So we're turning the physical world into that imagined, deeply connected universe. So if you think about that and you think about the value of what's there, it's all about the measurement. It's all about the sensors. Because being able to actuate something is cool, but being able to have cause and effect and be able to bring that back into a cycle where you can keep improving the experience. And in this case, the experience is helping humanity. That's where we're going.
Cecilia had a reinsurance company, but you spoke about a people-first approach in our talks. Share a little bit more.
So what is after smart homes? After smart homes are safe homes. So IoT and technology is having a huge impact on the insurance industry, where people are now or will be more and more empowered to change things at home when they are away from home. So definitely losses will decrease. And if you expand this thinking, what would be the relevance of insurance as it is today if there are no claims? So we see a shift in the insurance industry from a claims handling business to a safety provider, where at the core of our conversations is the emerging business model, where inside or central to the business model is the lifestyle insurance, where safety is the, let's say, the bonding factor. So this is how we see that smart homes is moving forward. It's basically technology is not so important, but the enabling and how all this data will allow insurers to expand vertically, so go beyond claims to services, and horizontally. Today, insurers only think about things, and now they will start thinking about people, how to keep people safe at home.
So let's continue on that safety theme. Quick show of hands, how many of you have a Ring doorbell or anything similar, one of the competitors? Just a couple in the group. Well, my children now call me on my cell from our doorbell, right? And I get a sense of whether they're safe or not based on whether they're home from school. But we were talking, Cecilia, about a really interesting trend that we're seeing, and one that Swiss Re is helping to lead, which is this notion of neighborhood networks. So, essentially companies are offering free applications that extend security monitoring to a wide radius around your home. It provides a platform for shared camera footage and live access. We're here in Lisbon, and it would be tracking kind of what's happening in each of our home areas. Swiss Re recently announced a deal with Wheeler, which is a Dutch company that connects neighbors and alarm systems. So through the app, everybody can communicate with their neighbors in a non-intrusive way, if you will. Tell me a little bit about why Swiss Re is kind of getting into that. What was sort of the genesis of that partnership?
Yeah, so within this notion of safety, there is today very positive dynamics within communities. So we were thinking, how can we leverage on that with technology? So with an InsurTech partner, WeAlert, that is based in the Netherlands, we're exploring how giving this communication platform to not only customers, but also users of our insurance companies can have an impact on what we do. So what we're exploring, first of all, is will it have an impact on loss ratios, as we call it? So it basically will be there less thefts or fire. Will that really increase crime if people can connect with that? But most importantly, customer engagement and how to build trust, because insurers traditionally have always acted on their own interest, and that, let's say, trust link between end users and insurers is broken. So how to begin to give one-sided rewards and really showing people and giving people the ability to be safe, that is going to be good business.
Thank you, Cecilia. So among all the companies that are part of the IoT consortium, there are two trends that keep coming up over and over again that we're going to be focused on in 2019. And those are access for senior citizens, the aging population, and the second is health and wellness, kind of how that fits into your life across from home to work, and when you're in major metropolitan areas. So Jim, Delos is right in the center of kind of this trend of health and wellness, and you shared with us sort of you have a platform called Darwin that helps to improve the environmental conditions, not only in where we live, but also where we're working, where we're sleeping, where we're playing. You've spoken about kind of the efficacy of lights and the impact that lights has on your sleep and wake cycles, and share a little bit more about kind of lighting and how that fits into the future of connected devices, and then perhaps other areas of health and wellness that you expect to see going forward.
Sure. Lighting is a very interesting one because it starts with a great question. Why is the sky blue? And the reason the sky is blue is because blue light, which is at a certain frequency and a certain level of energy, can get through the atmosphere when it's hitting it parallel from the sun. As the day goes on, or in the mornings, you have less blue light. That's why you have sunsets and sunrises that are beautiful reds and oranges, because that blue light's being filtered out. Well, it turns out that over the years, as I've talked about, thousands and thousands of years, this is how we evolved. Our sleep cycles are driven by the sun. So when we don't have that light coming because we're inside of a building, that's a challenge. It's called a circadian rhythm, where you match the rhythm of your body to the rhythm of the planet you evolved on. We're cutting ourselves off from that. So one of the opportunities that we're doing around these spaces, as you said, where you live, you work, you play, and you sleep, is to bring that back into our lives. So using lighting, what's called tunable white lighting to do that, is a big piece of helping to bring more wellness back into workplaces and into homes and anywhere people are where they're cut off from that normal sunshine. But there's other things. Air quality. Around the world, air quality is going down. And if you can increase that air quality, you can dramatically affect the health. Because all of this is tied to your comfort level. And very real numbers. If you are not comfortable and you can't sleep, too much CO2, not enough lighting, all of these things, it has real impact. If you are chronic insomnia, you have a 30 times larger chance of a coronary heart disease. We are starting to observe this. We have a lab in coordination with the Mayo Clinic that's up in Rochester, Minnesota, called the Well Living Lab. And in that lab, we actually study the effects of the built environment on the human being. And we do that in work, we do that in homes, all kinds of different environments to do that. So this is really based on science and research. And I think that that's important that we keep that as the basis for what we call wellness and what we call health, rather than just throwing a marketing term on it. But there are a lot of good things that we can do, a lot of things that are coming.
Thank you, Jim. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the aging population, Cecilia. And I'm seeing some of the questions around millennials. I promise I'm going to get to that before we go. There's some good ones here. But a really important topic, I think, for us all to think about is just the life and the business potential, the enhanced life potential and the enhanced business potential for reaching our aging population, right? When we talk about smart homes, when we're talking about wearables, when we're talking about connected cities and autos, there's a huge part of the population that's going to be impacted, displaced, need to be engaged in that. So, Cecilia, from your end, how are you addressing that from a reinsurance standpoint?
Yeah, so it's a growing concern, of course, because people are living longer and healthier, and they want to stay at home. So the most obvious example how technology can enable for elderly to live longer at home is in case of risk of fall. So replacing the panic button by technology to really understand what is happening at their place, and particularly only when they fall, to send an alert maybe to the caregiver or to the son, or to services, assistance services, so they can come and pick up. But it goes also beyond that, like the smart sensor in the fridge. Think, for example, the fridge is opening and closing very often. If by contextual modeling we understand that it's an 80-year-old woman living there, and we cross it with clinical studies that show that when all elderly people have a high level of anxiety, what they do is they go to the fridge and open and close. And then we know that it's a higher probability of fall if somebody is anxious. So at that point, opening and closing the fridge, send alert to the daughter, son, give her a call, sue her down, and avoid a risk. So all of this type of, let's say, risk prevention alerts we are developing.
So in the past few years, we've seen this staggering rise as voice as a platform. And I know a number of the questions here are related to security. It's omnipresent in the IoT ecosystem. And today in the US, there's a major election going on, and there's a huge interest in making sure that the election is secure. We're seeing kind of the rise of this dual authentication taking place. And Jim, just a quick question to you on that end is, what do you see that's coming next after voice? And is it biometrics? Is it eye scans or fingerprinting or facial recognition? If we're sitting here next year, or let's say in 3 years' time, are we going to see one of those have as great impact as we've seen with voice?
Yeah, so in 3 years' time, biometrics are going to be a big thing. And the biometrics are not going to be in the ways that we think about today. An example, I know of a company that has a ring that you wear on your finger. And what that ring does is when you walk, they just received a patent for this, when you walk, because the way you move your hand, the way you move your body, the gait of your walk can identify you. So two-factor authentication, this ability to say, are you really who you say you are? Where's that unique marker? That's the key to privacy, that's the key to GDPR, but it's also the key to usability. The more you know, the less you have to ask. And everything we're going forward is really about context. The more you know about your customers that are using your policies and about your patients that are out there, the more responsive you can be to use the technology to help their lives, right? And I think that we're going to see a lot more things to identify who in that question of what to do to help your life better.
Great. We've got 1 minute left. I know we could probably go on for hours on this topic. Cecilia, I'm gonna start with you. What would you like to see created within the next 5 years within this industry, the IoT industry, that doesn't currently exist today?
Yeah, so within IoT, interoperability. So today, I mean, what we do is really to contextualize and bring all this data together. And today it's very fragmented, so the value is trapped. So I would love to see in 5 years that we could actually cut these pockets of data in the way.
Pockets of data working together. And Jim, you're going to get the last one from our friends at Slido. Lynn and Irwin posed the question, how does AI assist in the new smart home, and can it enhance my selection of red Allbirds shoes? So, Jim,
it absolutely can. Absolutely. So the ability to actually run algorithms to, for example, see what's in your shoe closet and figure out what colors are right for the season. It's all about context, right? And who you are if you actually like red and it matches your brown eyes. It's important to actually use the AI to be able to do all that. So our Allbirds shoes, we're doing like a sponsorship for them. Red shoes are great. Thank you, Lynn and Irwin, for that question.
Thank you all for being part of this session. If you can give a round of applause to Cecilia and Jim.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of Web Summit, and we'll see you next year.